We're so glad to have you all here and tuning in. You know, we love to bring you special guests to inspire you entrepreneurs to get on the journey, stay on the journey, and for them to share their zones of genius with you. So today we have Hailey Rowe, a marketing sales coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. She helps service-based business owners, especially coaches, get clients consistently, develop their no-brainer offers, and grow their income without the social media overwhelm. She shares her FASTs, or Fast Framework Marketing and Business Tips, in her Health Coach Nation podcast. You guys want to check that out. And in her Health Coach Nation Facebook group. So that is facebook.com/groups/Health Coach Nation. She's been named as one of the top 25 coaches in Chicago and one of the top business podcasts for health coaches. Since 2010, Hailey has worked in the coaching industry and in business development marketing for startups. And her philosophy is you can have amazing surface and impact to make, but without a strong mindset and sales and marketing plan, your business will remain a hobby. So we're so glad to have you today on the show. Thank you so much for being here with us. Please share a little bit more about you and your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And my entrepreneurial journey has taken many shapes and forms throughout the years. I knew I had an interest in business and personal development and stuff from a pretty young age, but I didn't know what I wanted it to look like. And so I ended up getting some coaching certifications. I ended up getting my bachelor's in entrepreneurship at Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles, which was really fun. And then I worked for business development. I worked in business development for startups, and I did that because I felt like I wasn't ready. And I think this is a common thought we all have as entrepreneurs. I wasn't ready to have my own business. I wanted to learn. I wanted to get my hands on, working in the fast paced startup world. And so I did that, and it was really eye opening, and I learned a lot. And you also develop a lot of grit, and you learn that you got to work random hours and all the things. And so I did that until about 2017. And that's when one of the companies that I worked for, because it was a wellness startup, they were facing a bunch of delays with certain things in the city we were trying to be in with the machines and all this stuff. And so the entire team got let go. And that is when I thought to myself, well, the worst case scenario already happened. So I am ready to start my own business. I might as well do what I wanted to do all along, because it's not necessarily just safer to get a job. It's just, I learned that the hard way. So I started strong with working with wellness professionals originally in 2017. And then since then, I've expanded to, various service providers and coaches and people in the online world who want to make the world a better place with their services. And I help them get their message out there, actually be able to make the impact they want to make, and be able to live out their craft by having the sales and marketing skills and, systems to be able to be booking clients and making it a real business. So that's how I got here.
I love it. And for so many of us, sometimes we have to wait for the universe to give us the push to say, now's the time. And maybe that's all perfect. And I encourage for all of you out there who are thinking about truly owning that entrepreneurship journey, don't wait for the push. Just jump, because as we all learned over the last little bit, jobs are not promised, and it is a great opportunity when you can have multiple streams of income and work for yourself and pivot along the way. So I'm so excited to have your tips and tricks with everybody today to help them grow and scale and truly lead with a heart sales lead generation so they can attract those right clients. So let's dive into your tips today.
Yeah, definitely. So what would be a most helpful kind of topic you want to go into?
Dive into, what do you think is your strong suit, your zone of genius?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think one of the things that I work on a lot with clients is simplifying what marketing and sales really is. And so one of the things I try to break it down to help them understand that no matter what social media platform you're using or what marketing channel you're using, it really comes back to these basics. And so I call them my 4 basics of client attraction. And it is connect, engage, pre-offer, and sell. And what I mean by that is with connecting, a lot of times we think we have to, do ads or we have to, be on a famous podcast or something to get started. But the truth is, your next client might be at a networking group locally. It might be a referral from a friend. It might be in this Facebook group right now. You just don't know. And so you got to open your mind up to what's 1 to 2 platforms or ways I can start connecting with my ideal client. And what I want you to do is get focused on 1 or 2 ways initially instead of 12 different, going on all the different platforms all at all the same time and needing to obsess over the algorithms and all of this stuff. So really pick what's going to be your 1 to 2 ways to be connecting with your ideal clients. And then from there, we engage. So what I mean by that is how do you, first of all, understand what they want and need and what's important to them? And that comes from asking intentional questions with your audience. So a lot of times, new entrepreneurs will set up a website or get started and expect that they'll just be discovered. But the truth is, your first clients are going to come from you engaging with the world and you asking intentional questions and taking an interest in your audience and being able to provide what they want and need based on what you're hearing. So you really want to ask individually, your audience members, what kind of content do you want to see here? Or what are you working on these days? Like something intentional that can start the conversation so that you know what they're looking for. Then the pre-offer stage is really when you're able to provide value up front and provide a win up front. And it's a permission-based, and I say permission-based because you ask that intentional question and you hopefully get an answer. And then you want to invite to provide value for their answer. So it's not something that everybody's going to want and need, but once you hear what they're working on or what their goals are or what kind of content they want to see, you can then deliver that in a freebie or in a webinar or in whatever it is that you can offer as a pre-offer. And that allows you to build trust with your audience. It allows you to, give a quick win up front. And then the next phase is the sales phase, which it's kind of like this whole thing is a funnel, as you probably have talked about on your show before, where not everybody's going to make it to the sales phase right away. But that's the stage where after they do your pre-offer, you invite them to see if they want to do more or if they want to go deeper or if they want to solve the problem comprehensively with your program or offer or whatever it is. So these 4 stages, I think, is what we need to always come back to when we get overwhelmed or confused or like, where do I start? These are the 4 things that you have to be doing on a regular basis, and then fleshing out which platform or platforms you're going to do it on and what that's going to look like is what I help my clients with and all the, if then scenarios that come up throughout. But I think taking it back to those and asking yourself on a daily basis, did I get in front of my ideal clients in some way, shape, or form today? Did I ask an intentional question and hear from them? Did I offer my pre-offer anywhere today? Those are the kinds of things you want to be focused on.
I love it. And I think sometimes we complicate sales and we do want to simplify to scale. So one of the challenges I gave to our program members this month was to get into 15 conversations with their ideal client. One, to help with their messaging so that they can hear in the words of their ideal client what they're struggling with, what they need help with, what they want to know more of. And also so that they, put themselves in front of the right audience. And with that, then you say you have the pre-offer. So you always have a freebie or a value add, come check out the Own It show. And then there's the actual sales part. So I think for a lot of us, we forget to ask. And I was actually just speaking to somebody yesterday and they were saying, well, once you've asked and you're on the sales call, like how do you help them close, make that final decision? And so I wanted to just add into that part is we want to be heart-led sales. So when we can make it about to them and what's in it for them and help them see that you are the solution to their problem, then they will ask you how they get started. So the goal is, if you do that sales process correctly, they'll be asking you how they get started. You hold their hand and you walk them to the finish line, but they're the one who jumps over. And if they're not ready to ask yet, then perhaps we don't have them emotionally connected to the impact of what it would look like and the results that you'll have when you are working together or after you've worked together. And I think that's because for a lot of us, we want to sell the how.
Yeah.
So I've studied in many different programs, and I definitely did not buy on the how. I had no idea when the calls were, what the program looked like. I just know who was teaching and the results that it promised. And that's what had me, spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on education. And so as you're going through this process, we want to make it about them, because that's the heart-led sales. And that's how we never feel sleazy, because it's not about us and what we're getting. It's what we're grateful for and what we have to offer and what's in it for them and what are the results that you're going to help them get. And then what's life going to look like with those results? And we want to help them get emotionally connected to that impact of working with you and perhaps not working with you. So I have a challenge for all of you. Maybe it is your goal to increase your sales and scale and grow. I dare you to get into 15 to 50 sales conversations next month and ask yourself, how can you do that? How can you reverse engineer to have 15 to 50 calls? So ask yourself, how many people do you need to be in the DM with? How many conversations do you need to have? How many different communities do you need to be in front of? What is the thing that generates you the most leads? And how can you could do more of that so that you can book more calls? Because as Hailey was saying, it's a funnel and not everybody makes it down the funnel. So you might be speaking to 500 people and maybe you book 250 calls, 100 of them show and 50 of them close. So you do really want to go wide, cast that net wide to your ideal client, and then get into those qualifying conversations, those value adds, those nurturing, so that you can help walk them to the finish line. And it's not about you walking them to the finish line. If anyone's like, oh, we're going to walk them to the finish line, that's actually a good thing. You are writing a prescription. When I first started as a kinesiologist and I was closing my first contract, I had a physiotherapist that taught me it's like writing a prescription. So they told you what is their problem. Insert solution, which is your prescription. Well, I think it is Studying with Us in Success Principles 6-month breakthrough premium program that offers the full timeline therapy of replacing your key limiting beliefs with ones that are going to serve you. And that is going to allow you to have better relationships, have a healthier self-image, release the self-image glass ceiling that is holding you back so you can actually have new breakthrough results. So we want to write the prescription and then lead with the results and not necessarily the how. I didn't tell you these are the sessions, this is how it's going to look like, this is what we do in the session. I didn't tell you any of that. Right? So I want you guys to think high level overview. You've got this funnel. She's giving you your 4 steps. And now how can you do it heart-led, service-based, and write that prescription to solve their problem and hold their hand to the finish line? Because for so many people, they've probably been struggling with what you can solve for so long. And unless you have the confidence to offer and ask and walk them to the finish line, they may keep struggling or they're going to go hire somebody else. So it's building that confidence in sales and bringing it back to keep it simple. There's tons of different funnels and there's tons of different ways you can do things, but all of those things still have those 4 steps you talked about.
Yeah.
And then we want to write that prescription.
Absolutely. And what I like about the 4 basics is you can apply them to what is more your personality. So if you are more of a blogger or like you like writing or whatever, or you love speaking or you love interacting directly in conversations and DMs or something, it can apply to any of those. And I think you brought up a really good point about, I think the simplest way to put, like, people don't buy the how, they buy the why and what's the dream outcome, is something I learned from Alex Hormozy, which is people buy the destination. They don't care about the plane ticket. They don't want to hear about the travel involved and the getting on the plane and then the long flight and then getting to the, they want the vacation, they want the destination. So focusing on that. Now,
Love
I
that.
will say, I think you open with the, you know, as you said, the dream outcome. What's the before and after of your program? What's the results? How's that going to impact their life? And I do think some people get, depending on who you're selling to, some people have that logical part of their brain where they're like, I want to know, okay, how is that happening? And so you can still, of course, share that, but you don't lead with that as you're saying.
Right.
And that's not it's almost like a side note. It's almost like just a little like, and how we do that is through this, but here's the outcome, right? And I think so much people put the focus just on the side note of the features
On
instead
the
of the
logic.
yeah, exactly. And I think the other thing you mentioned about sales and coming from a heart-centered place, it's like people who get nervous about sales, usually it's because they see it as I have to come on this call and I have to convince this person and I have to ask them for money and I have to be manipulative. And that is not what sales is. Especially if you're selling a service, it's an exploratory process with the other person. So you're going to be asking them questions. You're going to be listening most of the time. You're actually not even going to be talking most of the sales conversation. So you really want to hear, what do they value? What do they want? How can you help them get there? And that is way different than asking someone for money. You're giving a service in return if it's a fit to help them get to the dream outcome or destination. And you're not taking with no service, if that makes sense. So stop saying, I really wish everyone could stop seeing sales as I'm asking for money. That sounds terrible. I would hate doing that. Like, it makes it sound like you're just taking something from someone and that's it. Like, that's not what sales is.
No, it's an exchange. Money is simply the tool that we're exchanging for the service or the product. So what you're actually asking them is if they want that result that you guys just discovered together during that conversation, and if they're ready to start working with you. And then be quiet. I think, like as you were saying, if you're on the sales call and you're the one doing all the talking, then we want to switch that. And when I really got clear that I know I always just want to serve. So what I always found that I did in the beginning, which wasn't so good, was I was just serving so much on that sales call that they left with all this homework and then they thought they had to get it all done before they could start working with me.
Totally.
What we actually want to say is, that's amazing and we can absolutely help you with that. This is what we do in the program. We've helped so-and-so do that. And when we can give them enough value that we are providing service during that call, but not giving it all away without the actual roadmap. Because then they go and try and do it on their own, but they actually need your tools and your guidance and what you have to offer. So when you're on that call, we actually listen more, talk less, and refer back to the offer and how we solve that solution. And then, of course, if they're not ready yet, we can provide something like a podcast episode. We'll dive into this right now, or I have this free event or this freebie. Like you said, I have so many freebies. And you can have a freebie to offer them. And then please do your best to always have that next call booked before you get off that call.
100%. If someone's not ready for the sale, you can always go back to the pre-offer stage. But the other thing that you just mentioned, and now my brain is having a moment, but you mentioned how you don't want to give it all away. So what I want to highlight about that is I think a lot of times people think it's not valuable if I'm just asking them questions about what they want and what they're struggling with and all that and not giving any tips back. But the truth is, it actually is valuable, because when was the last time that person had a chance to kind of like sort in their brain, what do they want? Like, here's what's been going wrong. Here's maybe here's the gaps. Like, identifying that is the first step to actually getting to their goals. So it's important to know that if you just do a free, you're just coaching them and there's no structure to your sales call, it's actually a little bit of a disservice, because as you said, they leave with like, okay, I got to go do all these things. And I'm like, they don't know all the tools and they don't know it in the right order and they're not doing the program, so they don't get the full like benefit of it. So I think I would suggest that always on a sales call, you want to give, it's a really good service to give the person an idea of how the call is going to go. And just kind of mentioning, like, we're going to talk about your goals. We're going to talk about what you're struggling with. If it makes sense, we'll talk about how we can work together. I'll share my framework with you. Does that work for you? You know, like something like that, where it's like you're laying out the roadmap of this call and you're making sure it's clear that it's not just like, I'm just going to, you know, we're going to pick my brain for this hour and that's what we're doing. Like, that's it, you know, unless you originally on social media or something phrased it as like, this is a free coaching session or something. But the point of a sales process and discovery call is more to set that stage and make sure that that's clear.
Yes, absolutely lovely. Lovely. I love it. You're driving the bus. So what you want to start with is exactly what she said. You create the framework for the call, ask them what they would like to get out of the call, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can help support them in what they're looking to solve. And then you dive into asking the right questions. And you want to customize your own qualifying questions that will help them get down to the solution that they're looking for, but also so that you can make sure that this is the ideal client that you want to work with. We all started our business so that we could do what we want, when we want, work with who we want, when we want, and live a joyful, happy life. So make sure you are also, this is also an interview that you are interviewing them to see if they're a fit for you. So when you come in with that kind of different energy, I'm here to serve, I'm here to see if what I have will help you. And I'm also here to see if you're a fit to work with us. And we create that framework and then we help them see what is the solution and then we can walk them to the finish line. So I love that. Great sales conversation, great tips to help you guys own your sales. Again, bring it back to the basics. Let's do a recap. What were those top 4 again? What are the 4 basic
Yeah.
steps to own your sales?
Yes. So it would be connect, engage, pre-offer, and sell.
I love it. And where can people learn more about you and any last piece of advice?
Yeah, well, thank you again for having me. And I am on Instagram at Hailey_Rowe. It's HAILEY_ROWE. I'd love to hear anything that you took away from this episode or, you know, where you're starting from in your business. Feel free to send me a DM. And the freebie I have for your audience is something that will help them actually apply good pre-offer nurturing content, and it's my free content roadmap. So it helps you plan 30 days worth of content that is strategic and still sharing value. So it's at haileyrowe.kartra, KARTRA.com/page/content. So we'll probably just have to put a link there so it's a little easier for people. But um,
Definitely will drop that
yeah.
below for you guys.
Yeah, and I'm at haileyrowe.com. I have the Health Coach Nation podcast. Heather's actually going to be a guest on it, so I'm very excited. And then the Health Coach Nation Facebook group, where she's also going to be a guest because we do both. So, yeah,
Thank
haileyrowe.com.
you.
Thank you.
I love it. So we have her website linked below. You guys can grab that now and we'll make sure to come back so we can add the freebie in for you. And if you have any questions and you want help and support with owning your sales and lead generations, make sure you reach out to Hailey. And thank you so much for your energy and your knowledge and for being on the show with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. So remember, everyone, stay happy, healthy, wealthy, and what is the best that can happen? We'll see you on the next show.